Hey guys, this is Dave from Full Armor Gaming coming to you guys with another in my series for how to DM and tips on how to DM. So today we are going to be covering ways to enhance in-person play. I've got a whole bunch of stuff I'm excited to show you guys. Let's get at it and let's see what we got. Okay, so you've got a campaign, everything's ready to go. You are ready to have people at your house or at your game, your game store or whatever it is that you're gonna be hosting your first campaign. So today what we're gonna do is talk about some ways to enhance that in-person experience to make it go as smoothly as possible and to give you some tips and tricks for making that in-person play feel fun, feel exciting, and feel rewarding for both you and your players, and make it something that's like, hey, this is really important. I really enjoyed this as a player. I want to come back. I want to make D&D a regular part of my schedule. So today we're gonna cover a couple tips to help make that feel better for both you and your players. So the first thing that I have learned in my experience is DMing, something that you kind of almost overlook sometimes, but I think it is very important, is make it as easy as possible for players to find the location of your game. I say that because I live in the middle of nowhere and my home is a relatively new home. And so when it came to Google, I would give people my address and it would send them to a completely wrong place. And it was very difficult at the beginning for players to find my house. And so that was not an enjoyable experience, and it made it harder for both me and my players because we would have multiple delays where we'd have people ending up almost 30 minutes away from where my house is, and they're like, hey, I arrived, this doesn't look right. And trying to figure all that out, and then your whole campaign gets slowed down and your session gets delayed, all that kind of stuff. It's not fun. So we want to do as much as we can. So one of the things I found that works pretty well, and I don't necessarily always recommend this, but in my situation it worked very well, is on your phone you can send people a pinned location. So it's like, hey, this is where I'm at right now, and you can send it to them, and then what it does is they just click it and it goes right to their navigation app on their smartphone, and it gives them directions on how to get exactly to where you are. That works pretty well for me. If you are doing it at your home, that is a good way of doing it, because sometimes Google or Maps or whatever it is you're using, sometimes typing in an address can get a little tricky. Or if you are having it at a game store, making sure that you've given them like directions to the game store, or a pinned location is also another good thing. But just having an option that makes it very easy for your players to find where the game is at. It's just, it takes away one of the stressors of a new player or players showing up to somewhere that they're not gonna feel extremely comfortable at right away because it's new to them, making it to where at least now they're not struggling to find out how to get there. That is one of the things that can actually get very easily overlooked, but can kind of make or break the beginning of your whole session to begin with. Two is make the location as welcoming for new players as possible. So if you're doing it at a game store, just kind of making sure when you kind of get there early, your stuff is all set up. The placing is obvious to the players to show up and like, hey, they just pick a spot and they can sit down. They know how to find you, that kind of stuff. Because it can be a little daunting if you walk into a game store, and especially a lot of times the tables are at the back. If you're all the way at the back waiting, it can sometimes be hard to find you. If you're all set up and ready to go, kind of hover towards the front. That way people can see you and find you easier. Or if it's at your house, a couple things I like to do. I like to have some music going and stuff like that when they get there. I like to try, if I can, at least if it's their first time, to meet them at the door, make them feel a bit more comfortable. At this point now, most of the players in my community have come here so much, they just come right in. They know that it's okay. They'll do the courtesy knock to make sure I'm clothed, but as that comfort level builds and it becomes a more welcoming location, you know, you don't necessarily have to do that every time. The beauty of D&D also is you can have as much or as little of things that you can afford or need in order to play the game. So me personally, one of the things that I have done, but I'm not saying this is something you need to do, I like to have like dice towers or something like that. They're just to kind of also show people spots that are available to play. But essentially, I like to make sure that players have stuff available to them when they get here. If it's stuff that maybe not everybody can afford, or everyone, you know, maybe not think to bring it. The other thing I like to have is just dice, bulk dice. I think I got this on Amazon for like 20 something dollars. I rarely ever use it anymore, but at the beginning, I used it all the time. Because a lot of players, especially if they're new to D&D, they don't have their own dice sets. That, you know, they don't really know what they need. They might show up and they don't have anything. So having some stuff, extra stuff to help people out is really nice, to where they don't feel left out if they don't have stuff like what everyone else has. So I like to just keep a spare set of stuff around, just so that everyone feels like they're participating at the table. One of the things I like to do is make the area as comfortable as possible. To put that into perspective, do your best to try to make sure that you are making the area that we are going to play in, you know, temperature wise, as comfortable as you can. Now, sometimes, you know, like you're in the basement or you're upstairs and, you know, there's only so much you can do, but do what you can to make it as comfortable as possible for them, so they're not sitting there sweating or sitting there freezing. I like to keep, you know, a couple blankets around just in case, because where I'm at, it does tend to get, either in the winter it gets cold, and in the summer it gets hot. So I like to keep a couple blankets around, because, you know, people have very different ranges of temperature, just something like that. When you are looking for seating and stuff like that, do your best to try to think ahead of like, hey, like, are these chairs going to be comfortable to sit in for a long period of time? If you don't have options, then you don't have options. It just is what it is. But, you know, if you do, you know, maybe like think ahead, or maybe let your players know like, hey, all I have are a couple small old folding chairs to sit on. You know, if you've got a lawn chair that's really comfortable for you, maybe bring that. You know what I mean? Me personally, one of the things I did was I used Facebook Marketplace. I had some folding chairs, and we were having some problems where they just weren't comfortable for people to sit in for long periods of time. They weren't holding up to, you know, all the people using them all the time. So I found Facebook Marketplace was perfect. I was looking around and I found these old chairs here. These old chairs here are from an old doctor's office. I found them on Facebook Marketplace. I got a whole bunch of them for like, I think it was like 60 bucks, and went and picked them up, brought them, and I kept them up in my attic until I needed them. And they are holding up so well. They, the material on them keeps them from getting stains and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, just get creative with if you're gonna have regular players show up and you know that comfort is not gonna be something that's easy for people. You know, I'm not saying break the bank. I'm not saying drop a whole bunch of money on it. But I am saying that if it is something that you can and you want to do, Facebook Marketplace, you know, maybe Craigslist. I don't know if anyone uses Craigslist anymore, but like Facebook Marketplace, stuff like that is a good place to just find some used chairs and just get the area a little bit more comfortable. Here, and now I want to talk about some extras that I have that enhance that in-person play. So if you are going to meet in person, the best part about it is being together, being in the same room. Now, some of the things that I have started using have really enhanced that in-person play. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna show you my progression of in-person play. When I first started playing D&D, I was theater of the mind only. I had dice, but we had no minis, we had no maps, we had nothing. It was just, everything was theater of the mind. And it was great. We had a great time. And then I progressed a little further along. And so what I ended up using was, I got myself one of these. I think I got it on Amazon for like maybe 10 bucks, maybe less than that. This was my battle grid for like a year. And so I would just use a magic marker and I would draw an area on there, and we would use like dice, or we would use we used Legos for a while there as our minis. And that's just what we did. And it was still a great time. We had so much fun playing D&D using this. I know people use graph paper. I have used large sketchbooks in the past. But get creative, do what you want to do. If theater of the mind is what you want to do, then just do theater of the mind. But if you want to enhance, and you and your players have talked like, hey, it'd be cool to get minis, it'd be cool to have this is a great place to start. So next, I upgraded from that to a new thing I got. It was from Yarrow Studios, and it is the Immersive Battle Maps book. This thing kept me going for probably about another good year. Inside is it's a whole table of contents of all different maps. And so it's got all kinds of stuff. And so what I did early on was I would find a map that I wanted to use, and a lot of these are already gridded so you can use it for measurement and all that kind of stuff, is I would find a map and I would plan an encounter around the map that I had. That worked also for a very long time. And honestly, I didn't really ever need to go any further than that. That was everything that you actually need. With the event, with my wife developing the table that we're at, and building in a TV to it and all of that, it became one of those where we wanted to take it to the next level to really enhance that in-person play even more. Once again, not a necessity, not something that you should do, not something you need to do. I want to make that very clear. But it is something that we wanted to do. And with the building of the table with the TV screen built in, then that opened up the world of digital maps to us. And with that, the world opens up drastically to what you can do. I started out using a program on Steam called Dungeon Alchemist that is a AI-driven map creator. So essentially you just set, kind of what you're looking for it to do. I want a, dungeon theme, or I want a castle theme, or I want something like that. You pick the theme, or it's like, hey, we're in a tavern, and they're like, oh, I want to fight this guy over in the corner. It's like, oh, shoot, I don't have a map for a tavern. So you just go to the tavern setting, you click, you drag, and it uses AI to generate a map, and it fills it with stuff, and it's really cool because you can change this, the time of day, you can change the shadows, the dark, all that kind of stuff. It is really, really neat. I used that for a long time, but eventually I kind of really liked what I was doing before with the Yarrow Studios maps, but I wanted to use it digitally, and so I found a creator. I'm gonna butcher his name. I think it's Chepeku. And I'll put a link to them in the description, but they have amazing maps. They are the most beautifully drawn maps, and I subscribe to them on Patreon, and that way I have access to a lot of the maps. They have gridded, they have ungridded, they have animated maps where the maps are actually moving and stuff like that. It's amazing what they've got. And so I still to this day find a really cool map, or I know that there is a general theme around what I want our next encounter to be, and I will search through there to find a map that works for that. I find that that's just easier for me than the creating specifically what I want. In the Dungeon Alchemist, I'm just super lazy like that. Dungeon Alchemist was super cool, but I was putting so much time into developing each and every map for every single encounter, and I was spending way more time on the map building than I was on the actual campaign. So the Chepeku has just been phenomenal. But those are just a couple of things that I do to enhance the in-person play. I also utilize music, and I like to have background music. So I have a Bluetooth speaker that I have that is either hooked up to my phone or hooked up to my computer. If I'm running off my phone, there is an app called Pocket Bard. It's a free app, but they do have a subscription available as well. The subscription is really good. It is a fantastic option if you are on mobile alone. I think they're still working on trying to make a desktop edition, and if they do, I will probably use it every single time because I absolutely love it. But if you are in a situation where your options are desktop, or something like that. Let's say you're running on your computer. A free website I found is called Tabletopy, and a huge shout out to my friend Tristan who showed that to me not that long ago, and I've pretty much used it almost every session since he showed it to me. It is really, really good. It's a lot of options, and it's just in a pinch if it's what you need. It's really, really good. I used to download like music. I backed something a while ago called Monument Studios, and it was supposed to be like cinema level music, and it is gorgeous music. But I found that I was kind of going the same route as I did with the Dungeon Alchemist, where I was spending a ton of time picking out specifically songs and sound effects and all this kind of stuff, that it was just getting to be a lot more time that I really wanted to put to just make background music. So that's where I really like these soundboards like Pocket Bard or Tabletopy. But those are just a few things that I like to use. Also, I have lighting. It is important to have good lighting as well, but just so that people can see. You know, a lot of times our player sheets can be very small writing, and if it's also dimly lit and small writing can lead to a lot of confusion. So just making sure you have options of good lighting available as well. I happen to use Bluetooth light bulbs. They're not very expensive, and so I've got a few of them, and then there's like a little app, and so I can set the mood to different colors and all. It's really, really fun. Like I said before, these are all personal preference things. I want to reiterate before that when it comes to in person is making sure your players have fun and you have fun. Do not make the in-person experience not fun for you. If you are not having fun because you're putting in so much time and money into making sure it's perfect for them, but it's hurting you, it's not worth it. Okay, so everything that you see here that we utilize, I am not saying it's something you need to do. I am saying that I have a ton of fun doing it, so that's why I do it. The beauty of D&D is that it can be as big or as little as you want it to be. You do not need a studio like they have on Critical Role. You can have a folding table with 4 chairs. You know, that can work for D&D. All in all, when it comes to the in-person experience, the most important thing is just making sure you and your players are having fun and are comfortable. And so that's what I've got for this one, and I will see you guys in the next one.